Hey everyone, I'm Cassie Fox and I'm here today to talk to you about some fun conspiracy theories for once. Who knew I could even do that? Positivity? What? So I mentioned it in one of my Q&As that I am kind of a Harry Potter superfan, and also that I have stumbled upon some Harry Potter conspiracy theories. They're not really conspiracy theories, I guess, they're more like fan theories, but like whatever. So a lot of you guys who I assume are also Harry Potter superfans requested this video vehemently. So here we go, let's get into it. So my first theory that I want to talk about today is why the Dursleys are so awful. So this theory goes that the Dursleys actually aren't that bad of human beings, and that they act the way that they do because they've had a literal Horcrux, a piece of Voldemort's soul, living in their house for, what, 13 years? Horcruxes generally bring out the worst in people, especially if they wear the item that is the Horcrux or they're exposed to it for long periods of time. This theory is kind of supported by how Ginny acted when she was around the diary, and also how Ron behaved when he was wearing the necklace. I don't know about you guys, but I still haven't quite forgiven Ron for leaving them in the forest. So what do you think? Have we got the Dursleys all wrong? Have we been way too harsh on them? Maybe they're just victims. I don't know if I buy that one. This is a theory, and let me know if this has been confirmed because I'm not sure. I didn't have time to research it before this video. But this is a theory that I came up with on my own when I was reading and watching the movies again. This is my theory about what exactly happened that night in the third book when Harry blew up Aunt Marge and turned her into like a helium balloon and she floated away, and then he ended up at the leaky cauldron. So again, I'm not sure if this has been confirmed, but I'm pretty sure that Harry's not the one who inflated Aunt Marge. A lot of people really don't stop to think about this, but Harry is really not that talented of a wizard. Yes, later on he's able to produce a Patronus charm prematurely, but aside from that, he's really not that skilled of a wizard naturally. So how could a 13-year-old boy accidentally inflate a human being and have them float away without killing them, number one, and two, without going to jail afterwards? So here's my theory. Since we know that Harry, after he stormed out of the Dursleys and was just like, I'm leaving, I can't stay here, you know, I don't care if I'm expelled, I gotta go. We know that he saw a black dog, which we know is Sirius Black, outside when he was waiting for the night bus, right? My theory is that Sirius was actually maybe even in the Dursleys' garden and overheard what Aunt Marge was saying when she was talking about Harry's father being a drunk, and that maybe he cast the spell in order to get revenge on her for talking smack. Also, when Harry tells Hermione and Ron about this later, Hermione is pretty astounded that one, he was able to accomplish it, and two, that he didn't get expelled or go to Azkaban. And Hermione is usually 100% right. I trust her. Another thing to note is when Harry ends up at the leaky cauldron and he talks to Fudge, he makes a mention of like, hey dude, I just blew up my aunt, like, we gonna do anything about this? And his response is like, oh Harry, we don't send people to Azkaban for blowing up their aunts, and it's like, yeah, you do. So I think that Fudge knows that Harry didn't actually cast that spell. That's why there was never any letter sent saying like, hey, you're expelled, dude. So that's my theory. Number 3, why on earth did Harry name his son Albus Severus Potter? It's so cringy. Well, the theory behind why Harry decided to name his son this is actually kind of sad and heartbreaking and really sweet. It's because Albus Dumbledore and Severus Snape didn't have any children, therefore there is no way for their name to be passed on. I know, it's so sad. Oh, and also the reason he didn't want to use Remus is so Teddy Lupin would be able to use it if and when he had children. Oh, I can't deal with the heartbreak. Oh my god, I'm fine. Number 4 is kind of a question and answer, and it's why can't the wizards in the wizarding world adopt modern technology like computers, the internet, and telephones? And this theory is that actually kind of goes back to the Ford Anglia, and the idea is the more you try to expose technology or machines to magic, they start to eventually become sentient and they will kind of rebel against you, like the car situation in book 2. Number 5. Professor Quirrell tried to murder Neville Longbottom during the broomstick scene. This happened all the way back in book 1 when everybody was learning how to fly. Neville's broomstick completely goes AWOL and it crashes him into everything, and he like literally almost dies, but thank goodness he only ended up with a broken wrist. And I never noticed this before, but especially in the movie you can see it where Neville's broom behaves the same way that Harry's broom behaves when Quirrell was enchanting his broomstick during the Quidditch match, which almost killed Harry. And bear in mind, at this time, we did not know that Harry was officially the chosen one. Neville was still a strong contender. Number 6, the theory that Snape actually survived the Battle of Hogwarts in Book 7. This one is pretty far-fetched, even though I would really like it to be true. So the theory is that Snape didn't actually die from Nagini's snake bite, and that he kind of like crawled away and escaped the entire situation. Because in one of the last chapters, they describe all the bodies being laid out, even the Death Eaters' bodies were laid out all on the ground in Hogwarts, and Harry's looking at all of them and but a lot of the bodies are identified. Even Colin Creevy's body was identified. So why wasn't Snape's body laid out in the lineup with everybody else? Also, Snape didn't appear when Harry used the Resurrection Stone. Harry had just found out this huge connection between Snape and his mom, and also Snape and himself. With all that knowledge brand new in Harry's head, I get that there's a lot of stuff going on, but wouldn't you want to resurrect Snape to be like, yo bro, we gotta talk real quick? Anyway, again, it's pretty far-fetched, but that's one that I found that I thought was pretty interesting. Number 7. Lily Evans was only popular with Professor Slughorn because Severus Snape was doing her homework for her. This one I totally believe, because it doesn't really make sense that Snape would write down all of those notes and hints and suggestions in his potions book. I mean, he would have had a notebook, he would have had a journal somewhere where he could keep all of his thoughts and ideas about potions to himself. Why put it in a textbook that you know like hundreds of thousands of students are going to use over the years? Why? He was doing it so that he could hand Lily the book during class and she could use it in order to pass and ace her potions classes. Good guy Severus Snape. Lazy Lily. Number 8, our first Crookshanks theory. Crookshanks originally belonged to Lily Potter. It is stated in the books that the Potters did own a cat, and Harry even wonders what happened to the cat after the attack. Then Hermione grabs this cat from the pet store, and the owner says that the cat's been there for a really, really long time. Like, are we talking 11 years a long time? The cat is super scruffy and appears to be pretty old, and immediately hates Scabbers. Crookshanks was able to identify that Scabbers was indeed Peter Pettigrew and immediately didn't trust him, and he put his murder face on. Number 9, the process of making a Horcrux. Now, we spend a whole lot of time talking about Horcruxes in the last 2 books specifically, but the interesting thing is that we're not told how they are made. We're not told the entire process. We know that you have to murder someone and that there's a spell, and then there's a really nasty dark part to it at the end. And it doesn't make a whole lot of sense because J.K. Rowling really goes into depth on how magic works specifically throughout the series. So if it's that horrible and that dark that she couldn't spell out what it was in the books, what was it, do you think? Well, this theory describes the process as involving cannibalism. I know, it's gross, but that kind of makes sense. Cannibalism is a super dark, taboo topic, and it's one of the most taboo things you can do as a human being. So it kind of makes sense that Voldemort would be willing to go to any lengths in order to preserve his soul. Think about Voldemort eating all 7 people. Whew, that's nasty. There is one problem with this theory though, because I do not recollect a time where they mentioned that Voldemort took a nibble out of baby Harry's leg when he murdered his parents. Yeah, that's a plot hole. Number 10. Crookshanks is actually Regulus Black. In case you forgot, Regulus is Sirius's brother who everyone thought was loyal to the Dark Lord, until the house elf Creature tells Harry of the time that Regulus died attempting to betray the Dark Lord and actually destroy a Horcrux. But what if Creature was wrong? What if Regulus didn't die by Inferi and he actually went into hiding as a cat? What if Sirius isn't the only black Animagus? It sounds pretty nuts, but there are some really interesting coincidences linking Hermione's ginger cat and Sirius's brother Regulus. For one thing, that might just be a coincidence, but both Crookshanks and Sirius arrive into the plot in Book 3. Also, the Black family was known for giving celestial names to its children. Sirius is, of course, the dog star, which is probably why Sirius chose to be a black dog in his Animagi form. Well, Regulus is a star that's located in the constellation of Leo, so maybe that's why he would have decided to be a lion-like feline. Oh my god! In book 3, when Sirius is asked how he managed to sneak into Hogwarts, he admits that he was somehow able to communicate with Hermione's cat Crookshanks. And as far as I know, Animagi can't actually communicate with real animals, so this is pretty strange. Lastly, and most interestingly, in the big confrontation that happens in book 3 in the Shrieking Shack between Harry, Hermione, Ron, Remus, Snape, and Sirius, Harry decides to try to attack Sirius Black, who he assumes is responsible for his parents' death, when, out of nowhere, who but Crookshanks jumps on Sirius's chest, acting as a shield between Harry's wand and his brother. That's pretty interesting. I like that one. And finally, number 11, my favorite theory, Draco Malfoy is a werewolf. Just wait, just listen. So in Half-Blood Prince, the book starts out with Harry spying on Draco, talking to Borgin in his shop in Nocturne Alley, right? Well, during this conversation, Draco lifts up his sleeve, exposing his wrist, and shows Borgin something that freaks him out. Later in this conversation, though, we hear Draco threaten Borgin with sending his friend Fenrir Greyback, who we know is a notoriously violent werewolf, to his shop to intimidate him. Now, Harry assumes that when Malfoy lifted his sleeve and showed his wrist that he was exposing a brand new dark mark. But we know from reading and watching the rest of the series that Draco isn't a Death Eater, therefore he doesn't have a dark mark. I don't think it was a dark mark, I think it was a bite mark. This explains Draco later threatening the man with sending Fenrir Greyback, a werewolf, to the shop. Draco's bite was given to him by Fenrir Greyback. Now I get that you're probably asking, wait, why would this even happen? Well, think about it. Who out of all the Death Eaters has disappointed Voldemort the most? Lucius Malfoy. Lucius is really a pathetic excuse for a Death Eater. He messed up the whole thing with the diary in book 2. Like, why would you even give it to Ginny? That doesn't make any sense. And then in book 5, he made a huge disaster out of the entire prophecy situation in the Department of Mysteries and actually wound up in Azkaban for a time. But then aside from the fact that Voldemort stole Malfoy's wand and also kind of moved into his house, there really hasn't been a huge amount of punishment for Lucius. Which is why it makes sense that when Lucius was out of Voldemort's grasp, he decided to take out his frustration on his son. Because if you really want to hurt a person, what do? You go after their children. So he had Fenrir Greyback bite Malfoy. Earlier in the series, Remus Lupin actually tells Harry that Fenrir Greyback is known for biting the children of people who have disappointed or offended Voldemort. Voldemort even teases Draco publicly about his new half-breed status. And I think the first chapter in book 7, it's revealed that Nymphadora is actually pregnant with Remus Lupin's kids. And Voldemort jokes that, oh, Draco, you can watch after the cubs, you'll be their babysitter. If it's nothing, it's kind of a throwaway, but what it insinuates is, oh, you wouldn't have to worry about a baby werewolf biting you accidentally because you're already bitten. That's like super mean, Voldemort. Can we stop calling Voldemort the Dark Lord and call him the Douche Lord? Canon accepted. So all throughout Half-Blood Prince, Draco is described to be very different than we know him to be. He's described as sickly and strung out acting, and he's just not at all the sleek, refined, Slytherin, pureblood wizard that we know of. Yet all the while, Hermione insists that his new behavior is not due to a new Death Eater status. And she has a pretty good track record of being able to sense who is and isn't a werewolf. This also explains why after literal decades of servitude that the Malfoys were able to, after hearing that Harry Potter was actually alive and retrieving Draco from Hogwarts at the last battle, they just kind of turn their backs and walk away from the entire situation. I am actually convinced that Draco was bitten by Fenrir Greyback. I totally buy it. I always felt that there was something going on behind the scenes with Draco throughout the entire series, really, and I thought like it was all gonna come out and there was gonna be this huge breakthrough with him in the last book, and there just wasn't, and I'm not sure why that didn't happen. She left a bunch of clues that there were other things going on behind the mask that Draco was wearing. Maybe it's because there were literally 1,000 other plots happening in book 7, and it was a lot. Alright everyone, that was 11 Harry Potter conspiracy slash fan theories for you guys this week. Let me know if you liked this video. If you want another video like this, I actually know a ton of Game of Thrones fan theories and conspiracy theories that I would love to share with you guys. So let me know what you guys like. All the social media stuff is listed below. If you want to contact me, hit me up on Facebook. Also, if you like my videos and you want to support this channel, you can donate as little as $1 per month on my Patreon account, which is linked below. All donations are appreciated. And I will see you guys next week. Again, I'm Cassie Fox, and thank you so much for watching. Have a good week.